Welcome back, friends, to another video. Today, we're going to be nerding out about some good old-fashioned Magic the Gathering. So whether you're into the stuff yourself, you played in the past, or you would just like a little bit of BagginsTV backstory and lore, that is what today's video is going to be about. Now, before we go any further, I do want to say this video is sponsored by Magic the Gathering. Wizards of the Coast have very kindly been sponsoring both the stream and YouTube channel for the past several months now. I thought in today's video, I would give a little bit of context as to my introduction to the game and, you know, why it is something that is important to me and why it might be something that might be important to you guys as well. Whether you, like I say, have played in the past, thinking about getting into the game, it could be like a little bit of a walk down memory lane, so to say. So for me, my introduction to Magic the Gathering was back in 2011. I just finished school. I was about 19 years old, going into university, and my God, I was an awkward teenager. I think most of us probably are, especially with a gaming background. But whereas like some other boys and kids my age would be into football or soccer or playing sports or just generally going outside, I loved just being inside. I was a full-on hermit, just Nintendo 64 all the time. Didn't really have that much in the way of hobbies outside of video games, but this is where Magic the Gathering comes in. So this is a tradable, collectible card game. It's been around since 1993, which is the same age as me, but when I jumped in, there was a set that came out called Innistrad, and some of my housemates that I was living with at the time, they were opening these, packs of cards. So obviously the Lord of the Rings set wasn't out then, and talking about how excited, like the cool mythic rares and what they got out of the packs at the time. And I happened to get roped in, ended up opening some packs myself, and that was it. I was addicted. The time when this came out, it was Innistrad. So back then there was sort of different sets or blocks. There are still sets now. And it might be like anywhere from 300, 400, sometimes down to 200 cards, like the Lord of the Rings set, for example, which came out in June. I think there was about 400 different Lord of the Rings cards in there. Innistrad has like its own sort of theme, and each set does have a different sort of theme. But the particular sets of cards that I was interested in playing with at the time were these sort of Spirit Boys. So Drogskull Captain was one of my favorite cards that we played with in a deck. He is a flying creature, so he's 2 power, 2 toughness. He gives other spirits you control +1/+1 and hexproof, and you could have up to 4 of these bad boys in the deck. So if you got multiple of these down, hexproof means that it makes it really hard for your opponents to deal with them. So it was, super annoying for other people to play against. Flying also means it can typically go over the top of other creatures, so it's hard to block. And then we had this ultimate bad boy here as well, which I'm still playing with in Commander decks to this day. This is the Geist of Saint Traft. He has hexproof again. He's a 2/2, and whenever he attacks, he summons an angel out of thin air, which attacks them and then disappears as well. So lots of flying, annoying, difficult creatures to deal with. To accompany that, we had things like Dungeon Geist as well, which is another spirit. When it enters the battlefield, it basically just disables one of the opponent's creatures, so they don't get to do anything. I was very much in the realm of spirits and denying my opponents and playing with flying creatures, and I've picked up some of these old cards from back in the day that I used to play with, and man, there is so much nostalgia holding these in my hands. So I don't know if it's something that anybody can resonate with when they're watching the video, but sometimes going back and taking a look at these old cards, the sort of first cards that you started playing with, those were the general creatures and what would make up the deck. And over time, I became more of an annoying player because I leaned more into blue and control, and we found cards like Mana Leak, where we could, rather than them not being able to target my creatures or not being able to block my creatures, simply they just can't play spells at all, counter target spell, unless they pay 3, which is pretty expensive. Moving into one of my favorites as well, the Oblivion Ring, which you basically just plop it down onto the battlefield and you take an opponent's card off of the battlefield. So if they have a creature that you can't deal with, you just Oblivion Ring it, and until they can get rid of Oblivion Ring, it is just temporarily ceases to exist. We also have Thought Scour, which is a particularly spooky looking art as well. Put 2 cards into the graveyard and I draw a card. I could also target myself with this, because another card that was popular at the time that I was playing with is the old Snapcaster Mage. So this is a 2/1 human wizard. You can flash him in, so you can play him at any time, and when he enters the battlefield, target instant or sorcery in your graveyard gains flashback until the end of the turn. So we could put 2 cards from our sort of library, our deck, into the graveyard, draw a card, and then Snapcaster could come in and then allow us to instantly play one of those. So we were effectively like drawing 3 cards, and we could have the option for Snapcaster to bring one of them out. So yeah, very powerful cards that we used to play with back then. I think generally for my housemates and stuff, it was a bit annoying to play against me. And that is something that I've continued to sort of perpetuate in my Magic the Gathering playtime through commander decks and stuff that I play, just generally favoring being really annoying. Leaning into that more annoying side, we also had cards in the Innistrad block, things like Nevermore here as well. Nevermore says when it enters the battlefield, you name a card in your opponent's deck, and they just can't cast that card, so it's like an Oblivion Ring, but even more annoying. And then the good old Turn to Frog as well. As you can see, meme builds and being a bit of a memer as a gamer, you know, you guys have seen it in the New World videos, but it is something that I do also enjoy doing in Magic the Gathering. A few months after I started playing, there was another set that came out called Avacyn Restored, and with Avacyn Restored, they introduced this concept of miracles, which is like, you know, for those of you who are fans of the Gamble or the RNG, they have this miracle cost. So normally this card would cost 7, which is pretty expensive, but we can pay it just for 2. It says you may cast this card for its miracle cost when you draw it, if it's the first card you drew this turn, and it allows you to take an extra turn. So for 2 mana to take an extra turn right at the start. There's also a couple other cards that we're still playing with to this day as well, and that is Devastation Tide and Terminus. You can tell because we got them sleeved up. I do play these in a commander deck, so miracle cost of 1 and 2, return all non-land permanents, so basically reset the game in a roundabout way. And then we also have put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's libraries. So very fun, very annoying to play against me, as you can tell. But opening these packs and playing with these cards at the time, it was like sort of one of the first hobbies that I was able to get into without it being gaming. And, you know, by going to a local game store at the time, we could talk to other people. They could see the sort of deck that we're playing, make suggestions on, oh, you like playing annoying cards? Well, how about this thing or that thing? You know, where we learned about Knowledge Pool as well, which also came out around the same time. And this one is just, you know, it's a wild party. So yeah, that is a little bit of me and my introduction to Magic the Gathering. It was a way to make friends at the time, and then also consequently make some enemies as well through my card choices. But cards like Turn to Frog and Terminus and the good old Drunk Skull Captain do have a forever place on my heart. So I throw the question to you guys: if you've played Magic the Gathering before, what are some cards that you guys enjoyed playing with, and have you considered, you know, digging out the collection, taking a look through those? Looking forward to Magic the Gathering in 2024. They have some big sets coming out, one of which is Modern Horizons 3. In the spoiler images for Modern Horizons 3, they have some pictures of some big Eldrazi, which has been another thing that I've been enjoying lately. That came out, again, a little bit later, the Rise of the Eldrazi. It was either before or shortly after we started playing, but they're just big, world-ending, terrifying monsters. So yeah, I really just Magic the Gathering. I mean, there's so many cards over so many sets, but I know that the set that came out when I started playing, you know, the cards that have cemented a place in my heart. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think, if there is you know, a sort of point where you guys started playing Magic the Gathering, what was popular around them, what were your favorite cards to play with. And if you haven't played some Magic the Gathering before, consider jumping in next year. There's a lot of cool stuff happening. There is, of course, the good old Lord of the Rings set as well, if you want a little bit of a crossover somewhere, you know, a sort of familiar ground to step into. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan like me, these have been a lot of fun as well, because all the cards are from the Lord of the Rings book characters. Anyway, as always, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Just wanted to give a little bit of a sort of backstory and, you know, talk about me and Magic and some of my favorite cards from back in the day and when I started, and, you know, like how it's evolved over time. So, as always, friends, if you enjoyed this one, make sure you go ahead and click the like button. Thank you again so much to Magic the Gathering for sponsoring this video. If you're interested, really consider checking that link in the description down below, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video.